I'm going to be talking to Alexandra today, all about sexuality, pleasure and periods. Quite an interesting one today. Right, let me just see if I can invite her. Oh, do you want to try and request yourself in, Alexandra? Technology. Cool. Yay! You what? Yay! Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing. I'm
perfect.
good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm just starting the day, a bit sleepy because it's kind of early-ish, kind of, in Sunday. But you've like pretty much had your day, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's 6:30 here in Sydney, so I have a few hours left to go.
Yeah. How has your day been? Has it been good?
Yeah, it's been good, thank you. We are in lockdown here, so we can't
Oh
really do
yeah,
much, but I managed to go for a run and being outside. The weather has been amazing lately, so it's not
that's
really
good.
winter. Me being growing up in Sweden, I can't really call this winter, so I'm lucky.
Yeah, yeah. We've
What
actually got
about
some
you?
nice
Did
sunny
you?
weather here. Yeah, I've woken up to some really lovely sunshine as well here, so it's all good. All good.
Amazing. And you guys are not in lockdown anymore. You are free.
We are just about kind of ish out of it. I think tomorrow meant to be, but a bit dubious about how long we'll be out of it for, really. So we'll have to see. We've been in it for like forever, basically. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Hopefully
really want.
things gonna be back
Yeah,
to
I know.
normal soon.
I know, right? I really wanted to talk about sexuality, pleasure, and periods today, which is quite a cool topic. So you're like amazing at that kind of sexuality, pleasure aspect, and I think it intertwines with periods even. So the women that I help have lost their period mainly due to hypothalamic amenorrhea. So that's like mental stress and physical stress.
Mm.
And sometimes I think it can even be deeper. So it can be, like I spoke to you before, maybe like trauma in the womb, or they don't feel worthiness of pleasure, and sexual shame, even things that you kind of intertwines with your work. So I thought it'd be an interesting thing to discuss. So first of all, do you want to just tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I work as a holistic sex and intimacy coach and pleasure expert. So I help women connect to their sexuality and awaken their sensuality. And we work a lot about learning to love our bodies, use our voice so we can feel worthy of pleasure. And yes,
Mm.
as you say, it's a lot of shame we have to work through and release and all this negativity. We have picked up all the messages from society and upbringing, religion, school, our parents, friends, and about sex and intimacy and how it's so negative and shameful. And
Mm.
it's impacting the way we show up in our life, and it definitely impacts our ability to receive pleasure and surrender in the bedroom.
Yeah, yeah, completely. You're not really, yeah, it's kind of like a thing which people don't speak about that much. And even, it sounds a bit random, but even, isn't your vagina the same, it looks the same as your throat, even? So it's like
Yeah, it's
connected in
similar.
that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and your pussy and your especially your cervix is connected to your throat. So very often, if there is
Mm.
a blockage in our throat and we struggle to speak up, there's very often a blockage in our sex center, and the other
Mm.
way around as well. And I've seen that on my own journey, on my own healing journey, when I started to talk and started to express about my traumas or all the blockages and all the shame I was holding on to. When I released that, I was able to experience pleasure on a whole new level in the bedroom, and it unlocked my
Mm.
potential to be able to orgasm. So it's definitely connected. And I'm
Yeah,
sure you see that in the work you do as well.
yeah, yeah, 100%. That's really important. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your story? So you mentioned a little bit of trauma there as well, but what got you into this work?
Yeah, so I grew up in Sweden, and very lucky I grew up in a home where there was no shame or stigma around sex and intimacy. Obviously, as a kid, you don't know what it is, but when I had a conversation with my mom because she felt pregnant with my little brother and my little sister, and when I
Mhm.
asked how is babies created or how do they end up in the stomach as you think as a kid, there was no shame or stigma. She sat me down at the table and she drew me a map and where the egg comes from, and she
Oh, that's
explained
really
for
good.
me as well. Yeah, it was like a really boring conversation, and I really didn't care too much. But she also explained for me that when I turn into a woman, I'm going to start to bleed. So I remember so clearly my first period. It of course happened the only weekend my mom was away, the only weekend. But I remember how it was uncomfortable, but also it was a celebration because I knew this was the moment where I was turning into a woman. So as much as it was uncomfortable, I couldn't wait to go to school on Monday and tell my best friend because I knew she was already bleeding. So I think I was like the second girl in class, and I was really excited about that as well. And I think thanks to having that first experience, I always had a really good relationship to my bleed and my period. And of course, it was years of like not really liking my period and having a bit of discomfort, but never a traumatic experience. And now I love it. And I see with a lot of women I work with, had their first experience where they didn't know what was happening to them, and they were just starting to bleed from the genitals. And you know, it's a very scary experience, and that traumatic experience is something we carry with us and can very often connect a negative relationship to our period. So yeah, so lucky having that open, honest conversation. Then unfortunately I was sexually abused during my teenage years, and long story short, had my first spiritual awakening around 15. To be able to gain some kind of, like, I had no idea. I lost all sense of reality, and to gain some kind of control or power back, I was starting to researching sex and intimacy and trying to understand things and wanted to know everything. And from my understanding now, I developed like hypersexuality and that extremely interest. But the fun part was that when in my last trimester at school, we got a topic of choice to go up in school and talk about. So I went up and I spoke about sex and intimacy when everyone else spoke about Shakespeare or World War II or something. And it was such a fun 45 minutes of me speaking about it. And I remember my classmates come up and, you should be a sexologist and you're so good at this, and I learned more from you than in my whole upbringing. And that's when my dream of working in this field was born. But then I needed to hit rock bottom a few times and get out of my own way, and you know, a lot of limiting beliefs about working in this career. And eventually I hit rock bottom so hard, I was like, this is why I'm here, this is my purpose, this is the reason I've been through everything I've been through, and my path was chosen for me. There is something I need to do, and I'm here to serve for something bigger than myself. And then started to study, got my education, and yeah, today I'm very fortunate to be able to work and help other women to connect to their sexuality and allow them to experience more pleasure and share their voice. So yeah, that's a little bit about yeah. What about you? How did you end up in this field?
Yeah, let me just touch upon you said as well about how you celebrated your period at the beginning as well. That's really important, because sometimes I think if you had shame around your period and when you first got it, like you go to your mum or something, and I don't know what's happened, and they just like, oh, hurry and like get changed or whatever. That puts a shame around the period or around your genitals. You don't really want to go there. So that's great that you had that. And then obviously we've spoken briefly about your trauma privately, and obviously that's horrible, but in a way you can look at it in a positive way because it's brought you here and you've learned all those things. That's really amazing. For me, so I lost my period after stopping the pill, and then the doctors wasn't that helpful. They did all the routine tests, but they just told me everything looks normal and to go back on the pill to like regulate my cycle, which is completely wrong. It doesn't do that at all, just masks it. So I ended up having to figure out myself what was going wrong, what was the imbalance, and I figured out it's pretty much hypothalamic amenorrhea, so stress, mental stress, physical stress from working out too much or not fueling your body enough as well. So I had to go down that path, and I finally got it back after nearly 2 years. So now that's the work I'm into. Yeah.
Amazing. So and that's often, I believe, like everyone who works in this field or in any field, we are there for a reason. And often when we have gone through our own challenges or traumatic experience or something, we bring in a whole new level of compassion and love and understanding to be able to serve in the way we do and help people on their journey.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it's really helpful coming from the experience side of things, as well as obviously your knowledge through books and podcasts or whatever, but having that actual experience.
Yeah, the lived experience.
So, yeah, totally. So my clients are like always on the go, kind of, usually. This is a bit typical, but usually it's like the type A people, high achievers, always on the go. Therefore, it's kind of hard to chill out and relax and surrender, which I know is pretty important because they're kind of more in their masculine energy. So how do you see that affect people that you work with and your sexuality and things like that? How do you see that?
Massively. And, you know, we are living in a society where we are, I would say all of us pretty much are on the go, constantly on the go, stuck in our head, achieving, working, hustling, looking after our kids, family, friends. And there's like book clubs and gyms and birthday parties and wedding we have to plan. And it's like it's always stuck on our head. And then it's expected of us women to come home, snap out of it, surrender and open and be able to receive pleasure in the bedroom. And it's just not going to work like that. We can't just snap out of it. Most of us can't. So we need to learn to regulate ourselves and bring ourselves into our feminine energy so we can open and surrender to receive pleasure. There is no way you're going to be able to lay in the bedroom and be stuck in your head and be able to experience pleasure. You need to be in your body. You need to be in the present moment to be able to. So that's a huge topic I work around with my clients as well, to learn to, as much as we can throughout the whole day, just to take a breath and come back into our body and just open, you know, soften. And like even now, like we were sitting and we were tension, it's like, how can we just soften? How can we relax our belly or relax our asshole and just open a bit, you know?
Yeah. Is that what you would recommend to clients as well, then, to concentrate on their breath and just really zone yourself into your body?
Yeah, I would say I think that breath is the easiest way in any moment to just bring yourself into this moment by just taking one deep breath and like, okay, I'm here now. I'm just here. And then also like focusing on what are you experiencing in this moment, and sometimes just putting your hands on your body and focus on what am I feeling right now, what's the sensations, holding a hand on your heart and focusing on the beat, and just bring yourself to this moment. And then there's like different ways to come back, but I think breathing and focus on the five senses, like what am I seeing right now, what am I hearing, what am I feeling, and allowing yourself to just be with your feelings and approach them with curiosity, you know, no judgment, and just, okay, what am I feeling right now? It can be sensations, so tingles or pressure in the body, or it can be anger, frustration, and an emotion. So just allowing yourself to be with that for a little bit. And the more you can do this throughout the day for a few seconds or a minute, the easier it's going to be to, when you then are in the bedroom, to be able to bring yourself into this moment and, okay, what am I focusing on right now? Where is the pleasure? What's going on? What am I feeling right now? And then programming yourself to feel more.
Yeah, it is really important. That's kind of something I struggle with, getting out of my head into my body. But I know how important it is. I try and do meditation, breath work, yoga, them kind of things, even like dancing as well. But how do you see being disconnected from your body then? How do you see that show up with clients, or disconnected with their womb space, their yoni, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to call it? How do you see that show up in their even day-to-day life?
I feel when we are disconnected to our body, very often we are disconnected to our truth. We struggle to feel our boundaries. And if we don't know what our boundaries are, we're obviously going to be struggling to honor them or speak them or express them. So we would have people crossing our boundaries and with traumatic experience for our body. So by connecting to our body, we'll be able to feel more connecting to our intuition, you know, and our intuition, especially as women, are able to guide us when something is not quite right. And also connecting to our heart and to our truth, because we're so caught up in this fast-paced living where we are stuck in our heads. So we're living in a life where we're living up to everyone else's expectation, what's expected from us, their definition of success or their definition of happiness, or what sex should look like, or what it means to be central in the bedroom. But when we connect to ourselves and to our truth, we're able to sit with that and actually, I'm not subscribing to this anymore. Like, what's happiness for me? What's a successful relationship to me? How do I want sex to look like? How do I want to be in the bedroom? What am I into? So it's a huge impact, and especially your sex center as well. I feel so many women are not connected to our sex center, and I think we need to be very kind and gentle to ourselves instead of judging ourselves. I think it's very easy to judge ourselves, but when we come from a place of love and understanding, there is not my fault that we are connected to or disconnect our body because of society. But now it's my responsibility to actually do some work and trying to connect to myself again and connecting to my sex center. And our pussy, our body holds so much wisdom. And when we are connecting to our pussy, it literally works like an internal GPS. Like my pussy communicates with me and guide me, and she lets me know when something is out of alignment before my mind does. Especially when it comes to like men and dating and stuff. Like she lets me feel when something is out, and I feel like we have suppressed her and disconnected from her because it's not safe, right? And we have all this false idea about what a pussy should look like, and there is only one pussy that is accepted, and if your pussy look like anything else, it's just wrong or bad or ugly. Whereas most of us do not look like we see in porn. And the pussy look in so many different ways and shape and forms and colors, but that's not what we have seen, so we just don't want to go there. And if we not feel safe in our body or comfortable in our own body, in our own skin, like how are we going to be able to walk out in life and be a woman standing in our true power and express ourselves and show up if we are not even comfortable in the home where we're going to live 24/7 for the rest of our lives? So it's a huge impact in so many ways. And I guess that comes with the period as well. Like if people are very disconnected to their body and not going to be connected to the period and the cycle. And
100%. And even when you were saying about I can't remember now, I lost my train of thought, but like body image, because you were saying how it should look a certain way, about how your like yoni pussy should look. It's the same as with my clients, and they usually have to put on weight because they usually need to eat more and exercise less, and therefore we're looking at society about how our body should look, and all things start coming up then. So we get disconnected from our body in that respect too. I'm actually reading the book right now. I've only read like one chapter called Pussy. I can't remember who it's by. But yeah, that's quite an interesting one, and that reminded me of things that you were saying there. So I want to talk a little bit about self-love as well, because of the body image issue that my clients comes up for them, and self-love, worthiness is a big piece, feeling accepted, which then makes you feel safe, I suppose. And then for your clients, it's really important to feel safe, isn't it? So you can feel open and surrender. So how do you see that show up, I guess? How do you see that show up, or how can we cultivate more self-love?
Yeah, I base my work into safe love and safety. I think I feel it's the key. If we are not loving ourselves, it's going to be hard to love anyone else. And, our relationship is life. In life is often a mirror of the relationship to ourselves. And all the work starting in learn to love and accept ourselves. And I think the first key is to bring awareness into how do we speak to ourselves? What are we telling ourselves as we're walking past the mirror, or when we're getting dressed, or when we're walking down to the beach, or when we're going on a date, or when we are having sex? And rather turn up the volume and bring more awareness to the way we speak and how we think and feel about ourselves, and then reframe that and be more kind and gentle to ourselves. Like, would you speak to your friend, your partner, or a little child in the way you speak to yourself? And if that's a no, change the way you speak to yourself. And can we turn in awareness? And this is again comes to bring yourself back into the body. Slow down, turn up the volume and the awareness of your monkey mind or your ego or the self-doubt. And if we're living in a fast-paced life, in our head, we letting our mind run our life. So when we stop down and slow down, we're able to reflect and be able to actually, that's not very nice, that's not very kind. How can I reframe that? How can I be more grateful? How can I find something to be grateful for rather than talking negatively to myself? And when we work with self-love, for example, in my program and with the women, the first thing we do in the morning is to connect to our body. We touch ourselves for 3 to 5 minutes and connect our body with gratitude and like thankful, connecting to our heart, we connecting to our intuition and our sex center, and by touching. So when we put our feet on the ground and we go out and live our day and we open the phone or we go outside, when those messages comes about what we should look like or be like or what it means to be a woman, how we should dress, we're able to actually No, we'd be so anchored into gratitude for what I have and how magical and beautiful my body is and how much pleasure it can brings me and the people I can love and what I can do. So it's easier to not absorb all the negativity.
Yeah.
But if we don't, if we're just living up here, we're just going to take everything on board and carry those messages with us that then going to run the show and our limiting beliefs. So gratitude, connecting to yourself, and again, bringing the awareness up. And, you know, we are all perfect as exactly as we are, and our uniqueness is our gift. And it's, I think, learning to love and embrace yourself and all parts of you, and not just the parts you love, but all parts of you and everything you are, because we can be so nasty to ourselves and judge ourselves, and often we are our own biggest critic. Yeah. So
Completely.
no,
Starting in the morning, like you said, that's really important. Starting your day with some positive affirmations, or like you said, connecting to yourself. It's really important. So do you see a connection between low self-esteem or low self-love and people coming to you, I guess, your clients that need potentially help with opening up and being more in touch with their pleasure area of their life?
Yeah, absolutely. And if we struggle with our body or the way we look or the way we feel about ourselves, very often we're going to end up in the bedroom laying there worrying about what we look like. And here's the thing: you can only focus on one thing. You can either focus on pleasure, or you can focus on all the body parts you're trying to hide. And if you're going to lay there and you're going to hide your stomach, or you're going to put the blanket over your arms, or worry about turning the lights off, or what your hair looks like, or the faces you do when you orgasm, you have no idea what's going on in your body. You're not going to be able to feel any pleasure. So learning to love and accept our body and feeling worthy to receive pleasure. And that comes as well with feeling safe in our body, it's safe to feel pleasure. It's safe to be who I am, and it's safe for me to just show up exactly as I am.
So important.
Safety.
So that's a key thing that comes up as well with my clients, and worthiness. I suppose not really feeling worthy to even eat that food, or they need to feel worthy enough they need to work out to feel worthy enough. Lots of things like that. And it does go down to feeling safe in your body. So it does, it definitely intertwines there. What about trauma? So, and like maybe sexual shame, anything. So from my understanding, things can get built, obviously we're made of energy, and things can get stagnant, blocks in our body, blocks in the womb space even, which might affect how we show up in the bedroom, or we might be very closed off and disassociated from our femininity. We don't want to, deep down, we don't want to be a woman even. How can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And, you know, speaking about trauma and around sexuality and receiving pleasure is all about feeling safe in your body, feeling safe with your partner, feeling safe in the environment. And I would say we all carry trauma. We're all carrying trauma in our body, in our womb space. And some of us have been through sexual abuse and rape and different kind of trauma that might be seen as extreme. But, you know, you can't really compare trauma. There's just trauma, and for something that was really big for someone might be small for someone else, but what they have experienced, where we all have had experience where we didn't feel safe in our body, where we felt it's not safe to be in a female or in a woman's body. And that can be when we've been walking alone through a park at night, or when we've been to a festival and someone was staring at us and we wasn't sure if they was going to grab our boobs or our ass, or when we was wearing a dress that our ex-partner thought was too short, so we walked around the whole barbecue party feeling slut-shamed. And, you know, we have all those experiences that have told us that it's not safe to be in our body. And also, we store so much trauma inside our pussy, inside our vagina, from every time she has been penetrated where we wasn't ready. And this is not just sexual abuse and rape. This is when we had sex with our partners or lovers, and we thought we were ready because we have had plenty of foreplay and we were wet and we have lube, but then we are getting penetrated and we feel like there's tension, like, oh, I could have done with a little bit more foreplay. And you know, our body is so magical. Like when she remembers, and she also, like, to save us from feeling the pain when we get penetrated before we are ready, she deassociates and disconnect, right? So she goes numb, so we don't have to feel the pain. And this is also when we are having sex with our own dildos or fingers or a menstrual cup as well. So it's not just even connected to being with another person. So this can be anything. And when she goes numb and deassociating this with everything in the body, you know, all those experiences that was too much for us to feel, like the times we wanted to cry, we wanted to scream, or couldn't express ourselves, we couldn't speak, you know, we all know when we like been swallowing and swallowing to not cry, or like to behave, and it's like that gets stored in our body, and that gets stored on the top of our sexual energy and our life force, and it makes us go numb and feel very disconnected to our body. And that's where it's like we all store trauma, and it's impacting our life and the way we show up, and especially being able to speak and share our voice and our stories, and there's so much shame around it too, and that's going to stop the ability for us to surrender and feel safe in the bedroom and receive pleasure or be in different ways.
I think it relates to periods too, and even the loss of your period, like I said, deep down, for some women it could be that trauma, that disassociation of wanting to be a woman. And also, even if you get like really heavy periods, really painful periods, like your womb and your yoni, whatever, is speaking to you, and that could be from any trauma and things like that, miscarriages, anything like that. That's really an important part. Even what came to my mind was the de-armoring practice. I've never done it myself actually, but did that help with like trauma release, deep trauma release?
It can help, absolutely. It can absolutely help. And you know, de-armoring can be done on any body part, and we store trauma in our body, and both in our whole body and inside our vagina as well. So I think I did this was actually, when was it? It would have been 2019 at some stage. I went to this de-armoring workshop. It was a breathwork de-armoring workshop, and we was doing a bit of breathwork, and I was very disconnected and deassociated from my body. Back then I hadn't healed yet, and I remember doing breathwork and de-armoring, and I couldn't feel anything, like nothing, didn't want to breathe. And this facilitator, and he looks at me and he asks me, it's like, what do you need to feel safe right now? And I'm like, I'm safe, because I was safe, and I was safe, like, bring it on, I'm ready. And then I remember going home, and I'm like, actually, what is safety? How does safety feel in your body? And I'm like, I don't know how safety feels. I can't find that. I can't locate that emotion or that feeling. I don't know what safety feels. And that's when I realized that I've gone through my whole life not feeling safe. And that's when things started to unlock on my healing journey, because I was like, that's the missing piece. I couldn't heal anything because I didn't have the foundation of feeling safe first. So
I love that. I love that.
De-armoring is definitely where.
How do I feel safe? What are the sensations of safety feel? So how can I bring that forward in that moment? That's for sure.
Yeah, and also like with the work I do as well, where women are struggling to receive pleasure in the bedroom, or expressing themselves, or asking for what they need. Like 80% of my work is outside the bedroom. We go out and we're focusing, okay, how can you receive pleasure during the day? Like, how can you sit in the sun and eating your lunch and feeling the sun on your skin without judgment? How can you go out and eat an ice cream and enjoy eating that ice cream and making sounds and moving and allowing yourself to receive the pleasure of eating that ice cream without any shame or any guilt? So like, I always talking about the beach, because I love the beach. When you go down there, can you like, this is so beautiful. Can you open and allow a sound to come? Can you allow yourself to open to receive the pleasure from that? And how can we cultivate experiences where it feels safe to receive in a non-sexual setting? So then when we are in the bedroom, we have that programming, this is safe for me to receive. It's safe for me to make sounds. It's safe for me to move. And then we're able to open and experience more pleasure. So, and I guess that's a huge thing for allowing your period to come back as well. Like, how can you feel safe being a woman? And everything it means to be a woman. How can you feel safe to be sensual and sexual and
how can you make your body feel safe enough to ovulate, to release that egg, to have a period? Important. And just saying about the eating food, I'm really bad at that. I'm trying to be more conscious with eating food with pleasure. And even like someone said to me about going for walks, and just don't go on your phone, like just receive that walk and just take it all in. I'm trying to do that because I want to be productive. I'm like, I could answer people's messages on my walk while I'm walking my dog, might as well. But no, it's taking, like you said, the little things inside your normal day-to-day routine, taking them in, receiving them in, and then that will help you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going
Um,
to ask you now, like when there is,
yeah,
because with the safety, and there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. We're feeling like collective stress, and we're feeling stress in our own life, and like the period have been rocked for a lot of people. Like,
mm,
how would you create safety for your clients to kind of get the period on track? Because I know my like I doing so many practices myself. You know, I had the whole toolbox full with practices,
yeah.
but yet my period the last couple of months have been 2, 3 weeks late. Have never happened before. I've been on track, and now
Hmm.
I feel the collective stress and the fear. And like, what's the practices you would give your clients to feel safe enough to ovulate and
Yeah. So it kind of depends the reason that you're not ovulating. So you ovulate around 10 to 14 days before your period. So that's what causes the bleed. You can bleed without ovulating, which is called anon ovulation, but we don't want that anyway. But yeah, so it's the reason why we haven't ovulated, which could be due to stress. Like you said, obviously everyone is stressed out right now. Even if you don't feel
mm,
stressed, like we're going through a pandemic and everything, on a subconscious level, you're stressed out and your body doesn't feel safe. But it could also be with my clients that the body doesn't feel safe because it's not eating enough. Like carbs are really important for ovulation,
mm,
and fats are important as well, but carbs especially for ovulation. Are you working out too much as well, which is stressing out the body?
mm,
Um, there's loads of different things that could be causing it, but the stress is quite a big one.
yeah,
And I think that's good for you as well. If you miss like 1 month of period, then it's not a big deal really. Like obviously we can look at it, but it's not that big a deal. When it's 3 months, that's called amenorrhea then. So then we definitely know
mm,
there's an imbalance. We do want to dig deeper. But with everything going on, they can be a bit all over the place. Travel can affect it, your body clock. And well, also as well, like if you've been vaccinated, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that. I might even get banned or whatever. People aren't allowed to talk
yeah.
about these
Let's
kind of things.
try to not use that word.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but, but basically that can affect it, the stress on the body from getting that.
Mm,
But things like, obviously, you want to find something that you relate to that de-stresses, that you can relate to that de-stresses your body, like meditation, yoga, walking, just taking it slow kind of thing. And
yeah.
even adaptogens. So they're different, like herbs, like ashwagandha is a good one that mostly
Yeah.
everyone can get on with. So that can help with your adrenals, lower cortisol. So we just want to really help the body basically in this time, make sure it's eating nourishing foods, we're chilling out,
Mm,
we're getting our sleep, and yeah, maybe adaptogens can support you too.
mm. And I think, yeah, as you say, like there is like, okay, how can we reduce as much stress as possible? But also, I guess for me, like I haven't been judging myself. I'm like, oh, my period is always on track. I'm feeling I'm doing all the right things. But then, okay, hang on a second. There's a lot of things going on in the world. If we are feeling very stressed right now, run down, we have a very low libido, our period is not right. Let's be very kind and gentle to ourselves again.
Mm.
There is a heavy world. There's a lot of things out of our
Yeah,
control. So things might not be as normal as it normally is, but it's not anything we done wrong because of that either,
yeah, because you can get
right?
stressed out because you haven't got your period as well. Because it's late, you're adding that extra stress, which is not
Yeah.
helpful. Just trust your body. It will ovulate when it feels safe, and yeah, continue. And by the way, you can ask a question. Someone's asked, can they ask a question? Go ahead, of course. I had one
Yeah.
more I wanted to throw at you actually.
Yeah.
About so a lot of my clients have low estrogen a lot of the time, not
Mm,
always. Usually their bloods are low or normal. But low estrogen can be linked to like vaginal dryness, and you've got low libido. You don't really want to be having sex. But I think it's also important to cultivate that and kind of ramp that up, because then we are connected to our womb space more, which helps with the periods, I believe. So if someone came to you and said, I want to get more into like my pleasure, I want to feel more sexual, but I just don't, I have low libido right now, what would
mm.
you say to them? What would you do?
I work with my clients in a very holistic approach. We work with like my clients as whole, so mind, emotion, body, image, energy, and spirit. So I would have a look at every area of your life, and the first thing I would ask, coming back to the stress, is like, where are you stressed in your life right now, and how can we ease up that stress? What can we do to reduce the stress and create more room to breathe and come into your body, surrender, come into your feminine energy? And then also, of course, having a look at, do you sleep? What do you
Mm.
eat? Do you exercise? Do you move? Do you go out? Do you get sun? And when you're
Mm.
having a look at those basic, the foundation, okay, do you turn yourself on? Like, you know, we are responsible to turn ourselves on, and very often we have this expectation where we are in our head and we go, 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 and then
Mhm.
we go to the gym, and then we pick up the kids, and then we're gonna come home, we're completely exhausted, have nothing left, and we expect our partner to turn us on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not fair. Like, you are responsible for your own life, your own happiness, your own sexual desire. And I would say, like, what do you do to make yourself feel good? What can you
Mm.
do to make yourself feel a bit more sensual or sexual, or to bring yourself more pleasure? And again, start looking at your whole day, like allowing yourself to go outside. What are you wearing to work? What do you wear when you get home? And, you know, what can you wear that makes you feel a little bit more turned on? And this is different for everyone. That might be lingerie for someone, that might be your partner's oversized hoodie, or they a shirt, or your onesie, like I'm jumping around in my onesie all the time. Like,
Yeah.
what makes you feel good? What brings you pleasure? And like, how can you find moments throughout the day that turns you on? And ask yourself, like, is what I'm doing right now bringing me more pleasure or moving me away from pleasure? Is that allowing me to cultivate more life force energy, or is this killing my life force energy? And, you
Mm.
know, how can you nourish in yourself? How can you allow yourself to receive? And again, finding those 2-3 minutes at the red light, take a breath, put on some
Mm.
music that you like. And as you say as well, with the walking and replying to clients, can you stop listening to that podcast or that audiobook and put on a song that gets you in the mood, you
Mm.
know? So
Yeah.
finding
Brilliant.
things that turns you on. And when you allow yourself to be turned on by life, you're going to be able to, hopefully that's going to spark a little bit in you. But then also, you know, there's a lot of things, and again, collective stress, there's a lot of things going on right now. The libido have been lower for a lot of people because there's collective, and, you know, it can be
Mm.
financial stress, so the stress from your kids or homeschooling, there's so many things. So again, coming back to self-love and kindness, where instead of judging yourself, why am I not horny? Why I don't feel for sex? Like, what can I do just to make myself feel a little bit more better? And of course, self-pleasure can often spark and start a desire. And I also think we need to think that like, sexual desire can be both responsive and spontaneous. And I
Mm.
think especially a lot of women have this experience that men just feel for sex if they are with a partner who is a man, and like, I just never just feel for sex. But that might be because the desire is not spontaneous like your partner. Your sexual desire is responsive. It means we need something that we can respond to with desire. And
Yeah.
this can be touch, or it can be someone doing something for us that makes me feel more loved or more worthy or valued, and we feel more desire. Or we see them coming up naked out of the shower, or something they text us or whisper to us. You know, we all have different things. So
Mm.
again, give up this idea that we are going to feel for sex out of a sudden, and also, okay, stop and reflect and feel into, when do you get turned on? What is that turns you on? And can you communicate that to your partner? They can help you to allow yourself to get turned on. What do you
Mm.
need? Do you need a clean house, or a shower, or a bath, or a kids-free weekend? Whatever you need is fine, but you need to reflect and communicate that if you want your partner to be able to help you there.
Yeah. Love
So
it.
there's so much. It's very personalized to see what's going on with
No,
the
it's
low libido
great.
and
Loads of
everything.
info. We have got a little question here.
Yay.
Right. If someone has trauma, sexual, since a kid, and then that suppressive memory comes back, how do we deal with that kind of trauma?
I would say you should go and speak to someone who's a trauma, um, who works with trauma, and get help with that professionally.
Mm.
It's quite deep and it's very personal to your
In the
trauma. So
body,
I would
right?
say, yeah, I would say go and seek for help
Okay.
around that. Yeah.
Cool.
Who's
So,
that? Miss.
is there any more?
Hey, EB, yeah, miss you. Miss you too. I
Oh,
have a question. So, you know,
yeah.
there's this quote or meme or something, but it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's basically, if your period is late, you go and have some rough sex or hectic sex, and it's shake that period out of you. Can
Hmm.
sex help if your period is late, or is that just a saying?
Do you know what? I don't really know, but I know it is a I think because it like rubs around that area that it can bring on a period that was due to come on the next day kind of thing. But I don't think it would like actually bring it on properly because, like I said, we need to have ovulated. And then once we've ovulated, we are 100% getting our period. So I think it would just edge it on like a day earlier kind of thing than what it was meant to. I believe so.
But it's just the same. Yeah, because I know it's have happened, and I know like when you don't know if it's just meant to be or if it's just because you actually have sex, it comes out because a lot of other things coming out as well.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the answer I would say. Cool. So if there's any more questions, we can end it there. But would you? Oh, someone saying hi. Hi. Would you like to tell people where they can find you, how they can work with you, your program, all that juicy stuff?
Yes. So you can find me on basically Facebook and Instagram via Soul Intimacy, or my website is soulintimacy.com.au. And I work with clients one-to-one, and I also have my women's online program, My Voice, My Body, My Pleasure. And we are starting again in August, and I'm super excited. We did the last round in May, and it was amazing. It's a 7-week journey where we work a lot about coming back home to ourselves, connecting to our body, and connect our sensuality, and learning to ask for what we want in life, and feel worthy to show up as the person we are here to be, as a beautiful woman we're here to be, so we can move ourselves towards everything we desire and whatever goals and dreams we have, and of course more pleasure both inside and outside the bedroom. So that's a beautiful journey, and I think early bird ends next Monday, so you have a week if you want to join for early birds. And you can find all the details on my Soul Intimacy Instagram, or you can send me a DM if you're curious, and we can have a chat if this is the right program for you. And if you want to work one-to-one, you can reach out on Instagram as well, or via my website if you want to fill out the form there.
I love it.
And you work with clients one-to-one now, and do you have a program yet, or?
No, not yet, not a program. So just one-to-one, I work with clients, and I also do breath work. So I like to weave in breath work into my practice.
Amazing.
As well, aspect. Yeah.
I love breath work. It's so powerful.
Heal on a deeper level, subconscious level, potentially some traumas as well. So amazing. Thank you so much. I love chatting.
Thank you so much. And
no worries.
See you soon.
Have a great evening. Thank you so much.
You too. Okay.
See ya.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.